Good morning, everyone. It's Sunday, December 1st. Yes, it's December. John Santiago, the State Secretary of Veteran Services, is our guest this morning. Let's go on the record. He is on the front line for the state's men and women in uniform, why the battle for funding never ends, and how politics can complicate that fight. It's time to go on the record.
From WCVB Channel 5, the inside word from Washington to Beacon Hill. Today's newsmakers are going on the record.
Welcome to OTR, everyone. I'm Ed Harding.
And I'm Charmin Sacchetti. With us at the table is John Santiago. He is the Commonwealth Secretary of Veteran Services. He stepped down as a state representative to take that position. He's also a doctor and a major in the Army Reserve, a Peace Corps volunteer. He holds degrees from the University of Texas, the University of Washington, and Yale. Thanks for being here, Dr. Santiago.
It's great to be here.
John, good morning. Great to see you.
Likewise.
As always, great to see you in the chair. So, as you know, we've just come off the presidential election in which the treatment of veterans did become a policy battle. Republicans claiming that funding for veterans was instead going to migrants. Democrats seized on comments made by Donald Trump about veterans. Your focus is getting vets the support and the services that they need. Do politics make that vastly more difficult?
Well, I'd like to think that veterans is an apolitical issue. We want to support our veterans, whether you're a Republican or whether you're a Democrat. Here in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, I can tell you that we're doing that. People often try to pit these two communities against each other, and we can take care of them both, and we have been. I can tell you that my work as secretary has not been impacted by the migrant situation. We are funding more veteran services than we ever have before, and we're putting more veterans in places to live than we ever have before, and I'm excited about that work.
So it's not impeding your work where you're going in the direction, right? And so the argument money going here, it cannot go here.
Well, as I said, we are funding more services than we've ever had before. In fact, we've put $20 million more to invest in a campaign to end veteran homelessness. First time it's been done, the largest dedicated amount to do just that. And we're housing veterans. And again, it's not really being complicated by the migrant situation.
You said in the beginning, it should be an apolitical issue.
I would hope. I mean, I think folks, when I served my country, deployed twice, I served with Democrats, Republicans, people from all over the Commonwealth and all over the country. And I think that's what brings us together. When I'm in a place like Syria or Kuwait or the Middle East, being able to communicate and engage with folks, I learned so much about myself, about my country, and about the Army.
All right, a new chapter for veterans out in Western Massachusetts. Last month, a topping off ceremony was held at the construction site of a new Holyoke Veterans Home. When finished, it will have single occupancy rooms for 234 veterans, and it comes, of course, after a tragedy during the COVID-19 pandemic when 76 veterans died at the Soldiers' Home in Holyoke. Congressman Richie Neal called the new building, quote, a phoenix rising from the ashes. What does that building mean to you?
Well, without question, we are bringing forth the transformative era and when it comes to veteran services in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, largely because of people like Governor Healy, Lieutenant Governor Driscoll, really investing dollars and making things work. Not only have we put forward money to build this brand new building, we've also completed a brand new building in Chelsea. Both those buildings are now licensed by the Department of Public Health. Both those buildings now have operators who are licensed to run those buildings. They have quality improvement programs. They both have electronic medical records. You can't change the past, but we can shape the future, and that's what we're doing here, and folks are excited about it, as are we in government.
Do you feel like you've been able to earn back the trust of veterans and their families?
Well, I'm a big believer that leadership begins with listening. So from the get-go, from week one, we've been out in the community engaging with veterans, listening to them. How can we best support you? Any study I've read when it comes to veteran services, it's about the engagement. Right? And rebuilding that trust begins with listening, and that's what we did in Holyoke, meeting with families who were devastated by that tragedy. And so far, the proof is in the pudding. We're building a brand new building. People are excited about it, and folks are coming together.
You feel like confidence is being restored?
Absolutely, without question.
When you say engagement, that's a nice word, but what do you mean by, you mean physical engagement?
Physically going out to their community, saying, listen, how
Yeah.
can we support you? How can we learn from the past?
Yeah.
And let's do this together. We don't want to do this alone. I always tell stakeholders, nonprofit leaders, other folks in government, we don't want to do this alone. We want to do this in collaboration with you, and they've responded to that. And that's why, again, we are engaging more veterans than we ever have before in the Commonwealth, and we are investing more dollars in veteran services.
We mentioned that you did serve in the Army Reserve as a major. So how does that close contact impact the way that you pursue policy, that you engage in policy creation?
Well, without question, I mean, my work and my experiences, whether it's in the hospital or in the military or in the Peace Corps, really provide me insight to how folks are operating in their daily lives. When I'm working with a patient in the emergency department who's telling me the challenges they're having with finding housing, finding mental health services. Really, that informs me to do a better job as a physician and a policymaker. So that's why it's so important to learn the lessons and engage with folks in the veteran community across the Commonwealth.
So what are you seeing in the men and women who are making the military not only a part of their lives in this very political time?
Well, two things veterans often need when they come back from service are education and employment opportunities. My office actually wasn't very engaged in this area at all, right? So in addition to working on the homes, putting forth the most comprehensive piece of veterans legislation in the history of the Commonwealth, the HERO Act, we've also put forward a program to support employment and educational opportunities, working closely and collaboratively with the Executive Office of Labor, Workforce and Development and other stakeholders. We want to get veterans the job that they want, that they deserve, and also the educational employment opportunities that they're seeking.
You've started a campaign to end veteran homelessness. Veteran suicide is a major issue as well. What's being done to make inroads on that?
Well, let me tell you this. I wasn't prepared to receive the number of calls I received over the past year and a half with respect to veteran suicide. From family members, from veterans, from loved ones, telling me about they lost someone that they cared about, right? And as someone who's worked in medicine and in a busy emergency department, who's dealt with life and death issues, this really struck me. And so we put out a study, a commission, to look into this issue, to see why it's happening in the Commonwealth, and to learn more about it. The fact that veterans are more likely to have PTSD, mental health issues, the fact that they're more likely to own weapons, right, puts them at higher risk for suicide. So from that study and that commission, we put forward some recommendations and some funding. So we came up with a $2 million grant to fund organizations in this space, and we're looking forward to working with them to continue to support veterans with that peer
Give us
support.
a couple of the recommendations. Well, like, for example, you've borne this, and this is...
Well, first and foremost, the importance of peer support, right? Engaging folks, providing mental health services, right? So my goal is to get veterans in the Commonwealth connected to VA services, right? We've increasingly been able to do that across the entire Commonwealth, not just veteran benefits, but also VA healthcare and mental health care. That's critically important. But also the peer-to-peer support. We are providing services within our office to connect veterans to peer support specialists, and we have some in-house as well to say, listen, we hear you, we're listening to you, we want to work with you, and how can we support you? That's what's unique about the veteran space. And as a veteran, you can speak to those issues. You know what it's like to be away from your family on Thanksgiving or on Christmas, to come back to a situation that has changed, and we're excited about that.
All right. You recently traveled to South Korea for a veterans conference there. Now, what was that like, and what was your biggest takeaway?
It was awesome. It was the International Veterans Conference at Korea. A number of countries took place, many of which are in Western Europe. An opportunity to really showcase what Massachusetts is doing on the global stage with respect to veteran services. And I got to speak about the turnaround that we're seeing right in Massachusetts with respect to Holyoke, Chelsea, the HERO Act, and just showcasing what we're doing in the Commonwealth in terms of engaging veterans. And to me, again, leadership begins with listening. We've listened to folks, we've turned around this agency, and now we're showcasing what Massachusetts can do for not just the country, but on the global stage.
When you look at what other states are doing for veteran services, where does Massachusetts sort of rank in that? Are we sort of toward the back of the pack, the front of the pack?
I think we're at the very top. I mean, we have certain programs here that are unique only to Massachusetts. We are the only state in the country where every city or town is statutorily required to have what's called a veteran service officer, a frontline provider, not working for me, but for the city and town to engage veterans with their benefits and with their services. That's unique. We also have a program called Chapter 115 that's effectively a safety net program to get veterans, poor veterans, services, medical services, dental services, help home repairs, car repairs, and we're excited about that, and that's continuing to grow under the leadership of Governor Healy.
Those are dealing with real life situations. You need a home repair, you need car repair, you need regular maintenance, We're here with John Santiago in the chair this morning. We're on the record this December 1st. Stay with us.